The latest issue of Jonathan Hickman's X-Men saga comes out today, House of X number 5. And for all the fans of Goldballs out there, you're going to be thrilled with this one. So without further ado, let's get into it. There's going to be spoilers in this review, so be ready for that. Like I mentioned, Goldballs. Any fans of this character from Bendis' run way back in, 2013, 2014? Goldballs, Fabio Medina, was a comic relief character who was just able to create gold balls that seemed to have no real purpose. But now, under Hickman's run, there is a purpose. Purpose which defines us. Purpose which drives us. Never mind. So what's going on in this issue? Well, it seems like we now have the possibility to resurrect all mutants, thanks to not just Goldballs' powers, but his powers in conjunction with the reality warping Proteus, Charles and Moira's son, Tempus, another Bendis X character, who I don't think we've seen in a couple years, but Ava Bell, Tempus, who has the ability to control time, Elixir, from the second volume of New Mutants back in the day. I'm actually having a hard time believing it's been 16 years since that volume of New Mutants premiered, but Elixir is also able to jumpstart the creation of life, important for this process that's going on in this issue. And what ties all these mutants together in their resurrection methodology? Why, it's Hope Summers, of course, with her ability to mimic and synergize powers. Although there is also a note in this issue that other mutants, such as maybe Mimic or Sync from Generation X, would be able to fulfill the same function. But that function overall, well, if you remember last issue, everyone died. And my prediction at the time was, well, they would be coming back sooner rather than later. But did I guess the very next issue? Not exactly. So this was a bit of a surprise for me, maybe for most of the readers out there, thinking that, oh my gosh, we'll never see Wolverine or Jean Grey or Nightcrawler or Angel or Husk again. But they're back again thanks to those 5 prior mentioned mutants who have the ability, starting with Goldballs, he can make unviable eggs, which are then made viable thanks to the reality warping powers of Proteus. They are given the seed of life thanks to Elixir. They are aged up to the appropriate age thanks to Tempus. And the ability to make sure all this is happening in sync with each other is engaged by Hope Summers. And there you go. I guess that's it. No more mutant death is the new anthem. Charles Xavier says he's filled with hope. And then next part of the plot, even more good news. This is really a good news issue from beginning to end for the mutants, because the next thing that happens is Charles, the Beast, Storm, the White Queen all go to the United Nations. There's a vote to be held to see if the new mutant nation of Krakoa will be granted, nationhood. And pretty much everyone agrees except for the evil countries, although even them, let's not call them out by name, but there's basically, they pick some winners and losers. Hickman has a whole list, a whole page of, these are the bad countries, the countries that disagree with mutant freedom and nationhood on ideological or political reasons, or at least in the case of one country, we just don't need their drugs, because apparently that's what the mutants are offering in terms of trade. They got some great drugs on Krakoa that are really going to help everybody out. Not sure exactly what those are, but they mention it. So thanks to the White Queen's mental efforts, some manipulative efforts you might say, Russia, I believe, abstained from the vote, even though they were going to vote against recognizing Krakoa in the mutant nation. So there you go. Now the mutants can get down to the work of, I suppose, resurrecting every mutant that was killed in the destruction of Genosha, which is something like 16 million. But they give us the math in this issue, and they say, well, they can do about 200 resurrections a day, I think. It was either a day or a week. So it would take 300 plus years to get all 16 million mutants back, so they got to speed up the process. But luckily, it seems like the 5 mutants who are doing this are enjoying it. And they also make a note, Hickman writes, this is not in a narcotic way. They're not enjoying it as like a narcotized sense of enjoyment. It's pure spiritual fulfillment. They love this job well done. It's like, well, that's great. But you only set these things up so you can knock them down. So you really have to anticipate the next issue here or in Powers of 10 is going to deliver some bad news. Speaking of bad news, the final scene in this comic is Wolverine has his doubts, but Xavier and Magneto are saying, all right, we got to allow all the mutants here. Not just the mutants we like, but all the mutants. So all the mutants would include some serious bad guys such as Apocalypse, but there's a whole laundry list of other really bad guys and gals that they let on. Some I thought actually were X-Men though. Like I had assumed Mesmero was an X-Men, but I guess she had had a run of being a villain or kind of a villain. But anyway, Apocalypse, Mesmero, Mesmero, Lady Mastermind, who else? Random from the old X Factor run. All these bad mutants show up. They come through a portal and they are welcomed. Krakoa's not Krakoa. Apocalypse is happy to be back on Krakoa, which in one of the prior issues we did learn that he had fought a war there to, I believe, banish some other villainous islands. So Apocalypse is happy to be back there, and he says, a little out of character it seems, but he says, we will submit to the laws of this land. Although you have to imagine, I always imagine the Apocalypse cartoon voice, the X-Men 92 animated series. That's always my internal voice for Apocalypse. I don't know if I believe it. If I'm being canny, these are the uncanny X-Men, but if I'm being a canny reader, then I'm going to assume that, it's not over until there's another fight with Apocalypse. Like, I don't think he's necessarily for real submitting to the laws of the land. I think he's got some conquering in mind. He always does. And maybe some of the other villains too. It's hard to say. I don't always know what a lot of their motivations are. Like Exodus shows up in a panel, and I always thought of him as like an acolyte of Magneto, but after Magneto was in a coma. So you got me. I mean, how much is he really an acolyte of Magneto if he never worked for him when he was awake? But again, that's like continuity from 20, 25 years ago. So who knows what he's been up to since then. Azazel was in there. Sebastian Stan, some other really bad characters. Any one of them could turn. And if they don't, well, maybe that's the bigger problem. If none of them turn, we have to think just from a story point of view. What is, where's the conflict here? This is, if I can darn this issue with faint praise, I enjoyed it. The art's great. Pepe Larraz is still doing incredible work. Jonathan Hickman presenting some interesting ideas. It's nice to see Tempus and Goldballs get some play again. But, this is all winning. And when a comic book is all winning, you're either thinking, okay, where's the turn? What's the twist? And also, in a single issue, I've mentioned this before, I think Hickman's doing great work, but when we have a single issue which seems to lack any conflict, it's just all winning, that's, you kind of feel like, well, where's the rest of the story? Just, again, based on the nature of there should always be some manner of conflict. But this one was just all celebration. Although I do imagine this will probably read a lot better once it's all in a trade paperback. I am curious how they're going to package that. Like if it's Powers of 10, 1 through 6 as one run, or if they're going to, and then House of X 1 through 6 as one run, or if they're planning on packaging it so that it reads the way it was originally released. But I guess we'll find that out soon enough. So that's really all I have to say about these issues. If you enjoyed it, or even if you didn't, let me know in the comments below what you thought about this issue of House of X and what you're thinking about the run so far. You may have noticed also I've been doing my art, my versions of Apocalypse, as well as, I don't think she appeared in the issue, but this was an old Psylocke illustration I had been meaning to get around to coloring with some Copics, so I did. So if you're an artist yourself, please also share your art in the comments. If you are interested in buying these issues of House of X and the other series, Powers of 10, I'll leave some links in the description if you want to pick these up from mycomicshop.com. It's some affiliate links that helps the channel if you buy some comics there. And what also helps the channel, if you don't mind, if you like the video, please smash that like button. And if you enjoy the channel as a whole, please subscribe, tap the bell for notifications, and keep tuning in. I'll be back soon with some more comics reviews and always some more of my own art. So until next time, all the artists out there, keep drawing.